It's not as simple as it seems when looking at the 1.1 banners, and this is the best time to investigate the whole situation with these 5 considerations. But first, thanks to Snowbreak Containment Zone for sponsoring this video. This is a new 3D sci-fi RPG shooter featuring innovative gameplay that combines guns, character skills, action elements, and the storyline set in a futuristic world. To put it simply, it's a PvE game focused around over-the-shoulder shooting, where you switch between 3 different characters from an ever-growing roster that you can build around different attributes and skills. Each character also has a cool ultimate like this one. She literally takes a power nap and provides awesome healing. I really like the diverse character design here because it blends the usual anime style with more realistic elements. You can also customize the guns to extreme detail, which is really cool, and you can equip your favorite waifu with the best custom weapon there is. But the biggest thing about this game, quite literally, are the bosses. Fight titans like these and survive the bullet hell. And all of this can be experienced with rich storytelling. There's a conflict between tech and humanity, struggling for scientific progress and questioning their own religion. Each of these story chapters will be animated, and you can expect 3 voiceovers, including English, as well as support for other languages. You can pre-register to Snowbreak Containment Zone right now by using my link in the description and claim rewards like 10,000 silver bucks, 800 digicash, 5 Valhalla passes, and the next 2 rewards will be an exclusive skin and weapon, so make sure to pre-register. What's even better, the closed beta test starts on June 1st, and the official launch is set for July 20th, coming to Android, iOS, and PC. So make sure to check out Snowbreak Containment Zone now. So let's first talk about Silver Wolf and the current state of the game when it comes to buffing versus debuffing. Basically, we've got 2 staple buffers in the game that are used almost by everyone who wants to clear a memory of chaos, and that's Bronya with Qingque. Now, during the livestream, it was made pretty clear that Silver Wolf can apply debuffs in several ways. Her skill can literally make an enemy gain a new elemental weakness they don't have. So for example, if you have a physical teammate and the enemy doesn't have a physical weakness, after Silver Wolf uses the skill and attacks, they now have a physical weakness. The other big debuff comes from her ultimate. It's a single target attack that has a chance to reduce enemies' defense. And finally, any of Silver Wolf's attacks can debuff an enemy with either attack, defense, or speed reduction. So, a lot of negative effects you can apply on enemies, but the thing is, assuming her purpose is to let another hypercarry utilize those debuffs, since that's how we are building the teams for now, there's actually a chance this plan might not work out. You see, you probably noticed enemies resisting debuffs from time to time, and that's not an ideal situation compared to Qingque or Bronya. Their buffs work 100% of the time. They will never miss, and you can carry out your plans without assuming failure at some point. Whereas with Silver Wolf, even if we assume she has a high base chance to apply these debuffs, they can still be resisted. I mean, it's no secret Welt and Pela see less play in Memory of Chaos, even if Welt is really good at reducing enemy speed, but the simple fact that buffers always work compared to debuffers, you're basically gambling with each of their debuffs, so it's not really a fair playing field. And I know I'm comparing Harmony against Nihility characters here, but at the end of the day, all of these characters are here to serve the support role for the team. Still, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Silver Wolf will be bad, however, I do think you will definitely want to approach her with a different mindset than you're used to. I am of course talking about the effect hit rate stat, which has been neglected since the game's launch. You can even spot it sometimes showing up on the body relic pieces, and now that Hoivers have revealed the free 4-star Nihility light cone, we can also see at first superimposition, it boosts effect hit rate by 24%, and that's not a coincidence. This might become an important stat for her, which of course means sacrificing other offensive stats, lowering her overall damage, but in exchange, you get a better guarantee at applying those debuffs. How true this is going to be, we will only find out after her release, but it's important to remember that as amazing as her kit sounds for improving the team's overall damage, especially for a hypercarry damage dealer, her debuffs can still be resisted, and we might need effect hit rate to fix this problem, which is not something we need to care about when using Bronya, Qingque, or even Yukong, who is the new upcoming imaginary buffer. But this shouldn't discourage you from pulling for her, and instead give you an idea of what to expect from her and how you can prepare for this situation if needed. I'm not gonna lie, right now, you cannot clear Memory of Chaos without having 2 healers. I can already raise all characters to level 80, and the last stage still delivers a ton of damage that you won't survive without having a healer on each team. This is where Luocha comes into the picture. He is the new upcoming imaginary healer, and he has a couple of interesting ways to keep the team alive. However, I won't go too much into details into how he works, since we already saw his skid during the livestream, and instead, I want to talk about his pull value. So, first of all, there's a lot of you who don't have bio Bailu. We can see from this poll my viewers voted on, only 30% of you have Bailu, and without her, you cannot complete Memory of Chaos as of now. But hang on, we have a 5-star selector, so you could get Bailu from there, right? Unfortunately, even after a month has passed, almost 90% of players are still not even close to reaching the 300 summons you need to do on the standard banner, which means you are literally left at the mercy of losing a 50-50 and getting Bailu sooner. And so this brings me to the Luocha situation. Yes, you can get him from the upcoming featured banner, and this way you can have 2 healers, but I'm not sure if it's worth pulling for him if you don't care about the Memory of Chaos. Sure, you can get good amount of bi-weekly rewards by doing this challenge, but I don't want to recommend pulling for him if you don't enjoy his playstyle or design, or at least you want to pull for someone else. Eventually, you will be able to raise 2 teams after a few months and clear this challenge, although we know for a fact that 1.2 also won't have new healers, so again, you need to decide for yourself if you value getting a second healer if you don't have Bailu. Also, when you lose a 50-50, you might still get her. And the thing is, at least in closed beta test, all of Luocha's heals scale with attack, which on paper sounds amazing, since he can be an offensive healer as we already saw his ultimate deals AoE damage. But also remember, he will not be as tanky as Natasha or Bailu, because that HP not only helps with heals, but also improves their max health, which helps a lot when it comes to surviving the final stages of Memory of Chaos. And you need your healers to be tanky and prioritize keeping alive the DPS. And this especially becomes true in the last stage here, where the incoming enemy damage becomes insane. Still, Luocha having damage potential is going to be amazing for late game stages, when everyone is at max level and can withstand enemy damage. So think of him having good late game potential, especially if it turns out his ultimate deals decent damage as well. But regardless of the situation, it's pretty clear that currently, if you want to clear Memory of Chaos, it's a bit of an unfair playing field, since you need a healer on both teams, and Luocha can help with that if you don't have Bailu. Probably the most surprising thing about the 1.1 livestream is that Hoiverse actually revealed all of the 4-star characters that we can pull for, something you won't see until a few days before the banners go live if you play Genshin. What's interesting is that 5 of these 4 stars are free to play. It's been confirmed that we will get Yukong for free in 1.2 update, so that leaves us with Pela, who needs to be obtained from the gacha. But seeing so many people pull for Zila, most of you probably ended up with her as well, which leaves us with the question of whose Eidolons it's worth pulling for. And the truth is, most of these characters have decent Eidolons, and only 2 of them have serious upgrades, but they are pretty hard to get. If you're gonna pull on Silver Wolf banner, then Asta's 4th and 6th Eidolons are huge improvements for her. Her whole shtick is that she can boost everyone's attack with her charging stacks, and also improve the speed with her ultimate. The problem is that she loses charging stacks rapidly when she takes her turn, but E6 fixes this problem by a lot, now helping you maintain the attack buff for the team consistently, while E4 helps her with energy issues she has, by allowing her to obtain 15% ER when she has 2 charging stacks. Both of these Eidolons work well together, and you will already notice a major upgrade when she gets to E4. Now, the second character who sees a massive performance increase with Eidolons is Qingque, but there's a catch. While her Eidolons are all decent, the best one is E6. Not an easy goal to achieve. Her biggest issue is that she eats up those skill points like nothing when she's fishing for those 4-of-a-kind tiles, and E6 gets rid of this problem almost entirely. But is it realistic you will be able to get Eidolon 6 Qingque and E4 or E6 Asta? Not really, especially because pulling for 4 stars is just not a great way to spend Jades. So instead, if you decide to go for either Silver Wolf or Luocha, keep in mind that there are 2 characters who get great power boosts with their Eidolons, but they aren't easy to get. Still, most of these characters get quite better even with the 1st or 2nd Eidolon unlocked, and it's a good idea to plan around this and come to a conclusion on which banner you want to pull for. If you follow Star Rail's drip marketing, then you know Kafka, Blade, and Luocha are the next characters coming in 1.2 update. While we don't know much about Luocha, we do have some gameplay footage of Kafka and Blade from previous closed beta tests. However, if there's one thing we learned from this game, then it would be the fact we shouldn't rely on CBT info and expect to see the characters have the same stats or functionality. Heck, even Jingyuan sort of got nerfed compared to his CBT performance. And Silver Wolf doesn't look the same as she did before. So I really recommend just waiting for the official livestream that happens during the 2nd phase of every update to get actual info that helps you with making a decision. But I'm not gonna lie, no matter how she turns out, I'm still pulling for Kafka regardless. As a final note, when it comes to comparing Silver Wolf banner against Luocha's, the most important thing to consider would be the actual 5-star, and then to see if any of the 4-stars or their eidolons seem worthwhile to you. The game right now is obviously skewed towards having 2 healers, but only if you care about Memory of Chaos. However, as time goes on, more healers will come out, so while grabbing Luocha in 1.1 if you don't have Bailu can be a great way to start clearing Memory of Chaos, we also don't know what the next cycle is going to be like. Maybe Hoyoverse will change the enemy lineups, and who knows, maybe shielding will become more impactful, or DPS is going to have an even greater importance, or perhaps debuffing will become super valuable for the next Memory Turbulence buff. Either way, I hope you pull for a character that you want to get and not because content creators, including myself, tell you to pull for these characters. And most importantly, please be mindful of your spending, don't put yourself into a bad financial situation over some fictional characters. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful, and I would appreciate if you could press the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.